Hey, what's up? Joe in Vegas here. Another review. Usually, I check out touring bands that are rolling through Vegas. You know, every weekend there's usually a handful of people, but every now and then there's either just a bunch of bands that I've seen too many times, or too expensive, or I'm just in the mood to do something a little different. And a lot of hotels around here have these shows. They're not residencies. They're just part of the hotel's entertainment bill. And there's a lot of them, and you see over the years of living here, you see the same shows get kind of passed around. Like it starts at Tropicana, and then it moves over to the Paris, and then it makes its way down until it kind of dies out and goes away. This weekend there was nothing really I was running to do or running to see, so I went to check out the Raiding the Rock Vault, which I've seen many times before in the past, years and years ago, way before COVID, when it first started. It's made its way around. It started at Tropicana. It moved over to the Hard Rock Hotel in a little room there called the Vinyl. And then when Hard Rock got sold, it ended up getting moved now to where it's now, which is at the Rio Hotel. So, God, this is an interesting review because the show has changed over the years. So, as much as I want to review it as an independent show, like this was the show last night, this is how good or bad it was, I also know how it started and how the evolution of that show happened. And I can't, as much as I just can't help myself, but, as part of the review, kind of look at how the show's changed for better or for worse, in this case, in my opinion, for worse. But it is a good show. So on its own, basically what it is God. So the show as it is now, it's basically called Raiding the Rock Vault. It's essentially an amazing tribute band created out of these kind of journeyman rock and roll guys who were part of, all these different rock bands over the years, and they probably live here now. And they basically play from the history of rock and roll, some of the best songs. And collectively, it makes for a great show because these are the best songs ever written, in my opinion, played by excellent, excellent, excellent musicians and singers. How can it not be a good time? So for that, if you love rock and roll and you want to go see a top-notch tribute band that plays the best songs, then this is a great show. It's a great show. You'll have fun. It's a fun show. The only set list I found online was a couple years old. It's mostly the same. There's a couple little things in there I'll try to remember because they sing a lot of songs. I mean, they pack it in. My Generation, Light My Fire, all along the Watchtower, and then they did Gimme Shelter, then All Right Now, Stairway to Heaven, Smoke on the Water, Hotel California, We Are the Champions, More Than a Feeling, Another Brick in the Wall, Dream On, Kashmir. I know there's some others that I'm missing that's not in the set list, just going through it. Carry On Wayward Son. Did they do that one? I think they did. Living on a Prayer, Heartbreaker, Separate Ways, Eye of the Tiger, Sharp Dressed Man, Pour Some Sugar on Me, Addicted to Love, Alone, Here I Go Again, Jukebox Hero. I don't think they did Jukebox Hero. I think they did Feels Like the First Time. Highway to Hell, and closing it out with Jump. That's pretty much the set list, give or take a couple songs. Actually, you know what? I think, they did Dream somewhere in there by Fleetwood Mac. But that's the level of set list you're going to get. These are the best songs ever written. And these guys are great. The singers are great. They power through them, and it's impossible not to have a good time. Now, my problem is, not problem, but the way this show started was back at the Tropicana, and I used to see it a lot over there because it was so good. It was more theatrics. It was more of a storyline. They had actors. It was this journey down the history of rock, starting with Chuck Berry and going through the 60s and the 70s and then the 80s, and I think they ended it like that Bon Jovi hair metal. But they had these actors. And in between each song, it was either a radio DJ doing his little shtick and introducing the next song. This is Summer of '72. This is the number one song. Or they had these 4 actors. I think it was 2 guys and 2 girls, if I remember correctly. They were like hippies, and they were going through the motions. They had a little scene where they were watching the moon landing, and then it would break into the biggest song in '69. And it really was more of a story, and it took you from the beginning to the end of rock and roll. And that was the original vision for the show, and that's where the show was at its best. I mean, if I was reviewing that old show now, I would give it at least a 9.1. It was such a well polished story with actors start to finish. You felt like you were taking on this journey of rock and roll. Now it's not. They play songs from different rock eras, but it's kind of all over the place. Like they do some 60s and they do some 70s, and they'll just throw a Bon Jovi in there, and then they'll go back to the 70s, and they're at 76, and then they're at 73, and then they're at 83, and it's kind of all over the place. So it's a big change from back then. They have screens up, and they put these facts on the screen. I'm thinking now, there was a Queen song. I don't think that was on the set list. But, if they're doing a Queen song, they'll flash, pictures of Freddie Mercury on the screen and have some, little tidbits about this song was number 1, and this is how he wrote it. And it's a lot of fun. The room itself, I don't like. I just don't. It's a really weird room. It kind of angles off at the back. The ceiling is very low. There's no windows. I don't know. I've never been in that room. It's called the Duomo or some shit like that. Didn't care for the room at all. It was just, I don't know. Even though it was a small room, if you were in the back, which we were, you kind of felt pretty far for a small room. Just the way it was designed. But again, I don't want to take anything away from the musicians that played, the singers that played. They were all excellent, like top notch. You can't help but say, like, wow. Just as a show, I think it's a little pricey if you're paying top dollar. I got my tickets a little cheaper. You can go on Vegas.com. I think they're like $20 cheaper than Ticketmaster. That would be my advice. Once you get to the $70, I think is what they charge, I don't think it's worth it. If you can get the $40, $50, yeah, I think you'll have a good time. I think if you like rock and roll and you're looking for something to do, it's a good show. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would give it probably a rookie score, 7 out of 10. It's fun. It's good. If there's nothing else going on, it's like sitting with a bunch of drunken friends and listening to classic rock radio and just hitting every hit out of the gate. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's nothing more to it. I hope one day they go back to that original script. I'm guessing they weren't making money because it kept moving, to hire all those actors and stuff, as well as the musicians. I feel like the guys at the beginning were also bigger at the old show with the Tracy Guns and Howard Leeds. I think Leeds is still in there, but they had a couple big hitters when the show first started. Robin McCauley. See, none of those were there. Paul Sorrentino and that. I'm thinking about it. But the show used to have some much bigger hitters. I don't know if it was an off night tonight, but there were no massive hitters as far as they were all talented. I don't want to take anything away from them. But, I mean, there was a moment where they had, guys who were in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and stuff like that didn't have that vibe last night. So, good show, 7 out of 10. I would definitely go see it if you're looking for something fun in Vegas. Thanks for listening. Subscribe, comment, and I will see you at the next show. Bye-bye.